Hang Gliding Flight School is a free educational resource created to share the fun and adventure of flying by encouraging, teaching, and inspiring aviators of all ages. Aviation videos provide a supplement, never a replacement, for face-to-face, in-person training with qualified teachers. Visit www.hangglidingflightschool.com for a map of nearly 40 flight instructors in the USA.
Good day, aviators, and welcome to another episode of Hang Gliding Flight School. My name is Eric, and this episode of Hang Gliding Flight School is going to show you a few options for building a vehicular roof rack for a hang glider. Because people who are new to the sport of hang gliding often wonder, how do you transport a hang glider? Everyone knows standard airplanes need to be stored outdoors at airports or inside of giant hangars to protect the aircraft. But where do pilots store hang gliders? I mean, you see hang glider pilots flying these enormous aircraft with a 30-foot wingspan off a mountain, and you wonder, well, how did they haul the glider up the mountain in the first place? I mean, do you have to move it inside of a big trailer? Do you have to store your hang glider at an airport? I mean, can you fit something that big in your garage? Well, yes you can. In fact, storing a hang glider in your garage is the whole point. You see, when engineers Gertrude and Francis Rogallo first imagined creating a personal flying wing for everyday people to fly, they envisioned a foldable aircraft which could be easily packed into a compact size, stored in every garage in America, and become as ubiquitous as a bicycle.
It was an effort to find out a way to make an airplane that would be simpler and more unbreakable and maybe foldable so that people could carry it easily or store it in their garage and so on, so that ordinary people could own an airplane.
Now, despite how big they are when they're flying, hang gliders pack up into carrying bags, which average about 20 feet in length, 2.5 feet in circumference, and weigh around 50 pounds. And once you pack it up, a hang glider becomes small and light enough that most adults can easily pick up and carry the aircraft. Plus, it only takes about 15 minutes to pack or unpack a hang glider from being inside the carrying bag to being flight ready. Which you can see me doing right here in this sped up footage. I'm removing the aircraft from the carrying bag, unfolding the wings, putting battens into the wings which tension the sail, and after I complete this entire process, as I said, in only about 15 minutes, the glider is ready to fly. In order to transport your hang glider from your home to a flying site, pilots usually mount the aircraft to the roof of their vehicle. Just like surfers strap surfboards to the roof, kayakers attach their kayaks to the roof, snowboarders put snowboards on the roof, and canoers put canoes on the roof of their car, a roof rack is usually the best choice to transport a hang glider. And here you can see me doing just that, taking the packed up hang glider, putting it back on the roof rack of my Jeep so that I can take the glider back home. Now, we can't walk into a sporting goods store and buy a hang glider rack. However, we can buy enough components to fabricate our own rack without using too many tools. Pilots have managed to attach hang gliders to vehicles of all shapes and sizes, from subcompact smart cars to full-size family sedans to old-school Jeeps. Pilots have put gliders atop station wagons and compact cars and full-size coupes. One guy, he even built a suction cup rack attached to a Lotus sports car. And you can even create a rack for a trailer and carry multiple gliders that way. So there are two schools of thought when it comes to hang glider racks. One group will tell you to minimize your contact points. In fact, many hang glider manufacturers suggest that you only need to support the glider in 3 spots, in the center and at both ends. they claim that fewer contact points translate into less damage through rubbing and abrasion. Now, the second group of people will tell you to support the glider with numerous contact points to prevent bending and reduce the weight being applied to each contact point. And to achieve this, many people just use a standard straight ladder as support beneath the glider bag. Now, back when I started flying in 1997, the newest trend for transporting hang gliders was to slide them into a giant PVC tube mounted to the roof of your car. No one does this anymore because PVC tubes are one of those ideas that sounded great on paper, but it was awful in practice. Now, in theory, a PVC tube is a fantastic solution to protect the glider from sun and rain and dust. The glider is 100% supported and it can't bend or flex. And you could put locking caps on the ends of the tube, making it very secure. What's not to love? Everyone should transport their gliders in a giant PVC tube, right? Wrong. What people didn't consider was movement. The glider would slide back and forth within the tube as you drove down the road. And it would also bounce. And the resulting friction would wear holes in your bag and even through your sail after only a few dozen miles of driving. This is why no one uses PVC tubes to transport hang gliders anymore, because many pilots did severe damage to their aircraft this way. Now, let me emphasize, I'm only cautioning against the use of PVC tubes for transportation. Pilots still use large PVC pipes for glider storage, and that's fine. Remember, it was the constant sliding and bouncing within the tube as you drive down the road which would damage the glider. Using PVC pipes for storage is not a problem. Using them for transport is really bad. Okay. Now, we can learn something from those mistakes and realize that there are 3 goals you need to accomplish when transporting your hang glider. Number 1, support the glider at 3 or more contact points, the middle and both ends at a minimum. Make sure that the glider is secure and doesn't move at all. No horizontal sliding, no vertical bouncing. It must remain solidly in place. And number 3, whatever method you use to immobilize the glider, don't cinch down so hard that your tie-down straps damage the bag or the sail. So, that is your challenge, those 3 things. And to give you some ideas, let me show you the rack system I built for my Jeep. I will explain all the components I used and why I used them. The first thing I needed to do was add a front receiver hitch to my Jeep. This model is a Curt 2-inch front receiver hitch which bolts on with 6 grade 8 bolts, so it's extremely secure. Then I had to build a hitch extension post. I started with a Max Hall adjustable hitch, and I used a pair of grade 8 bolts to attach the Max Hall hitch to a 2x2 metal fence post I got at the hardware store. It was originally 5 feet long, and I had to cut off around 5 or 6 inches so it would be evenly aligned horizontally with my pair of roof rack bars. Across the top, I added a 3-foot length of horizontal aluminum post and secured that in place with some more grade 8 bolts and these 2 triangular steel plates. So the only metal working I needed to do was drilling a few holes and cutting the posts with the hacksaw. Now, the width of the crossbar also gives me the ability to carry 2 gliders, so I can help carry another aircraft for a fellow pilot. Here you can see the entire front hitch post detached from the Jeep, and I think it can be a little bit easier to understand how it was all put together when you see it all by itself and you don't have the ladder on top of it and you don't have it attached to the front receiver and all that sort of thing. So as you can see, it's very simple. It's just that top crossbar and then the straight post which attaches to the adjustable hitch. Now, if you don't want to build something, you could just buy something that's pretty much just like this, and you can use many different models of what they call a truck bed extender, and that serves pretty much the same kind of function. So finally, I attached my completed hitch extension post to my front receiver hitch using a Curt anti-rattle hitch pin. The anti-rattle pin is a bolt which assures the post doesn't wiggle or bounce and it stays solidly in place. I need to use a 24mm ratchet to attach and detach the bolt, but this is the only tool required to attach and remove my rack system. Now, I elected to build a simple ladder rack to support the glider. I would have preferred to use a straight ladder, but I don't have a lot of storage space at home, so I opted to use a 15.5-foot telescoping ladder, which is very lightweight and compacts down really small. I bought white pool noodles to use as padding on each of the rungs of the ladder. Having a soft surface like this not only protects the glider from bouncing, but it also allows the glider to sink into the pads, reducing the chances of sliding forward or backward. Now, most people use duct tape or electrical tape to secure their padding. Instead of tape, I used Velcro straps to secure the pool noodles, so that way I wouldn't get glue residue all over the ladder rungs. Now that leads us to the strap system that I developed. For safety reasons, I use multiple redundant straps to secure the ladder to the Jeep. This way, if any strap fails, I have extra straps keeping things in place. First, I have 4 Velcro cinch straps around the ladder rungs. 2 straps go in front, around the hitch post, and 2 in back, around the roof rack. Then I added 3 more closed-loop seatbelt straps, which close together with locking carabiners. I wrap one around the front hitch and a ladder rung. The other 2 go in the rear, wrapping around a ladder rung and on each side of the back roof rack. These act as tensioners to prevent the back of the ladder from swaying back and forth as I go around turns. So when the ladder slides left, the right strap tightens. When the ladder slides right, the left strap tightens. And these counteracting forces keep the ladder centered on the roof. So now we get to attaching the glider itself. I bought 3 custom blue cargo straps, which are 10 feet long and 4 inches wide. They have 2-inch loops at the end, so I can again slip a carabiner through the loops and lock them in place. I wrap these straps around the glider at least 2 times in the rear, middle, and front of the glider bag. The excess strap wraps around the ladder. Now, by using such long and wide straps, I can cinch down snugly, and the immense width of the strap distributes the pressure so the straps don't dig in and damage the aircraft. As an extra safety measure, I loop the center strap through the glider bag handles, just to make sure it can't slide backward or forward off the ladder. I also marked the exact center of the ladder with this encircled X, so this helps me align the glider at the exact center. My glider is 19.5 feet long, so when it is centered properly, there is only 2 feet of glider hanging in front and back of the ladder. I've driven hundreds of miles with this setup, and my glider doesn't move at all. In fact, I once forgot to remove the rear strap when I was taking the glider off my Jeep, and I couldn't pull it off the roof, even though it was only being held in place by the one blue cargo strap. There are multiple companies all around the United States who will build you custom cargo straps, so if you need something like that, just search the internet and you will find numerous options. So that's pretty much it. I mean, that's the overview of my hang glider roof rack, how I built it, what parts I used, and how it works. Now, I do concede it could be simpler. It doesn't need to be quite so fancy. One pilot suggested I add another roof rack and then get rid of the ladder altogether. And that would work, but I like the extra padding and the support provided by the ladder. It's, a little more effort to assemble and disassemble, but I think it's worth it.
Creating a good rack for your hang glider is actually a lot of fun if you approach it with the right attitude. Rather than seeing it as some inconvenient chore, view it as a challenge, a way to be creative and clever in your engineering skills. Can you build something nicer and more efficient than your fellow pilots? I've seen racks that are far worse and far nicer than my own. You know, everyone has different approaches. So I hope this video may have inspired you with some options and ideas for your own setup. Thank you so much for watching this episode of Hang Gliding Flight School. Be sure to check the Hang Gliding Flight School website to find a map of nearby instructors who will train you to become a hang glider pilot. And if you're already a beginner pilot or instructor, share this video with other students. And remember, my friends, in the words of Ray Bradbury, you've got to jump off cliffs all the time and build your wings on the way down.